Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the greatest baseball show on YouTube. It is Baseball Adjacent. I am your host, Taco Josh, and that right there is America's pitching coach. It is Justin Arth. He is Calgary'd out because he's an honorary Canadian, I guess, but he's also a Braves fan for those of you guys that are new. Today, we are doing some power rankings. We got a month left in the season, Justin, until it's playoff time, so we are officially in the playoff push, I believe.
Yeah, it's September call-ups. Everybody just got 2 extra guys, and it's time to go on the playoff push. So it's time for us to give you some power rankings of who's in the playoffs, who's not, who sucks, who's good. Hey, it's time for our opinions, which all of you guys love, obviously.
Yeah, so we're recording this on September 2nd. This is just power rankings. We're not tricking you. This is what it is. We're ranking our teams 1 to 30. Justin and I actually have individually done this, and the exciting part of this podcast is neither of us know what the other one ranked. And so
Yep.
you're going to hear us react to each other's and maybe call each other very stupid, but we'll see how we go because opinions differ. But like and subscribe. Maybe you guys drop your power rankings down below. Did we nail where we put your team? Did we miss your team? We didn't miss your team, but did we put your team lower than they should have? I guess just let us know down in the comments below. But it's an interesting time. I think everybody's got about 25-ish games left in the season, give or take. The playoff picture in the AL is shockingly interesting suddenly. The Rangers have kind of gone on a run. The Mariners are slipping. Kansas City is still there.
Yeah, it's getting interesting. I mean, the National League is not quite as interesting as the American League, but yeah, we still got some teams that are outside the playoff picture that have some chances. So maybe these power rankings can give them that extra little boost. Or hey, since college football started, maybe we're the media that's going to give the Kirby Smart the reason why to, or the doubt for the reason why they're going to go on this playoff stretch if they're currently outside the wild card round.
Yeah. Let's hope not. Let's hope not. Let's hope at
We
the
are the
end.
bulletin board material.
Yeah, let's hope at the end of the day, all the San Francisco Giants fans still tolerate us. Let's just start. We're going to start at number 1. All right. And I think it would be a good idea to change things up, even though we're changing things up from nothing because we've never done this before. I'm going to count down for this first one from 3, and we're going to both say our best team in baseball. And hopefully it's the
Okay.
same, but I guess we'll see. So on 3, 3, 2, 1, the Brewers.
Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah. That's a slam dunk to me. Why don't you go first? Talk about the Brewers for a second.
Yeah, so the Milwaukee Brewers are getting closer and closer to their franchise record of 96 wins, which is kind of crazy to say that like their franchise record for the most wins ever is only 96. Like they're on pace to shatter that record. They're second in most runs scored. They're second in batting average. They're fourth in pitcher ERA total. This team on paper isn't an amazing team. Like, not saying that they're not great players or they're good players in their own right. A lot of them are just unproven that a lot of us have never heard of. But they're winning in ways that are not necessarily conventional. Like they just keep winning ball games. They're stacking up wins crazily. They're then going and blowing out people. I mean, you look at the run differential. They've got 161 run differential, which is the best in baseball. So again, that goes right with those statistics. I mean, Christian Yelich having an okay year, William Contreras having a pretty good year, and then you're getting, like I said, a bunch of quote unquote no names really performing right now for the Milwaukee Brewers, and that's still with Jackson Chourio not playing much this year due to injuries. So pitching is obviously good with this team, and you're seeing it with them scoring runs and then them holding them to no runs.
Yeah, they are one of the best teams in baseball at beating teams that are above 500, which is going to be pretty critical in the playoffs because everyone you play is going to be above 500 in theory. I went on this soapbox a few nights ago off camera, so I'll go on it slightly here on camera. Uh, People say like, "Oh, the lineup's unproven; it's a bunch of no names," but if you stuck William Contreras in New York, like that is a star. Like that is a Major League Baseball known name star, and he's not because he plays in
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, right? It's kind of a small market team, which is fine. It's cool. But people are like, he's like nobody knows who these guys are. Like you would if Contreras
if they
is
play for
on
the
the
Mets or the
Yankees.
Yankees or the Dodgers. Yeah.
Yeah, like if Terang is a Dodger, everyone is so much more aware that he just hit 10 home runs in the month of August than they are
Yeah.
right now. And maybe you're like, wow, Terang just hit 10 home runs in the month of August. So I don't like that argument to me kind of falls flat because I think a lot of that is like location and not necessarily skill. The lineup is
Yeah.
good, the pitching is pretty good. It's just to me it's the most complete team in baseball.
Yeah, they're definitely playing like one. And even just kind of go back to my take of the no-name players, like I think a lot of people that watch baseball like we do know who Bryce Terang is and know how great he is. Obviously, William Contreras, Christian Yelich. But you get guys like Caleb Durbin and Monasterio and guys like that maybe either didn't pan out at one point or another, or again, they're just the prospect that's within a year or two of their big league career that we're like, okay, is this ever going to stick, or is this actually going to be something that can stay relevant? And right now, they're firing on all cylinders and doing that. So they are kind of the unproven commodity, and a lot of people just kind of expect it to fall apart, and they're not falling apart right now.
Let's move on here. Justin, give me I'm interested. Give me teams 2 through 5 for
Okay.
you.
So when we to preface my top five, I do think there is a clear top three, and then there is like not necessarily a massive gap, but like a gap between 4 and 3. And really, I think that next kind of tier is 4 through 8. But I'll still give you my 2 through 5. So I've got the Phillies at 2, the Dodgers at 3, the Tigers at 4, and the Cubs at 5. So I just think what the Phillies have, even despite the Zach Wheeler injury, the way Kyle Schwarber is like mashing the baseball right now, this offense is really turning it on overall. I mean, they've got one of the better run differentials in the game. Their pitching is still overall pretty deep. I still feel like that puts them above the Dodgers currently. And again, this is a current ranking. Like on paper, when the Dodgers get healthy, they're starting to get healthier. I still think the Dodgers are a better baseball team than what the Phillies are on paper. But the Dodgers have kind of surprisingly not played like the dominant force this year. And again, a lot due to injuries. But I still think on paper and the way they're playing or starting to play now, they're starting to get hot at the right time. And that's why I think they're the top three. Tigers, I think, are good offensively, but again, I think it's more of the Brewers conversation again, and even more so of a Brewers conversation than even what the Brewers are. Like there are a lot of like utility players. There are a lot of guys that you don't expect to perform the way that they are that are. And obviously you still have guys like Riley Green that are star players in Major League Baseball carrying the load. You have Tariq Skubal pushing this staff to new heights and about to probably win a second Cy Young in the American League in a row. And then you look at Chicago, like they're kind of stumbling a little bit as of late until they started playing my Atlanta Braves. But this just kind of feels like an area where they're getting a little flat. They still have a really good run differential. Dansby Swanson's turning it on. You've got a lot of people on this team turning it on and starting to play well. Wrigley's rocking right now. And I don't think they catch the Brewers, but they're giving the Brewers a run for their money. And if you're playing well and chasing down the best team in baseball, I think you got to be in my top five.
Okay. I I have most of those teams in my top 5. I think there's one fairly egregious one that you've missed in my opinion, but I agree. I think to me, so I have the Tigers at 2. Let's start there.
Okay.
I think it's the same thing as the Brewers conversation. Skubal is a star. He is an ace. He is a bona fide ace. And going down this list of game, like if you're matching up, let's say in the World Series with the Brewers, or you're playing the Yankees or whatever, like you're probably winning the Skubal start. There's not an ace pitcher in this playoff hunt right now that's better than Skubal. And I think there is
Yeah.
something to, hey, we have the best pitcher right now, and our lineup kind of bangs a little bit. And again, I'm going to go back to this a lot. So if you hate this stat, I'm sorry. But they are pretty good against teams that are above 500, which is important to me as I was doing this. That's a tiebreaker for a lot of these, right? As I'm going through. I think they are a more complete team than we give them credit for. It's the Riley Green thing is the same thing as like the Terang or Contreras thing. If Riley Green is a Yankee, everyone's like, look at this crazy season that Riley Green is popping out, but it's not happening because he's in Detroit. Like Detroit is a baseball town, but it's the same kind of thing. The Midwest maybe owns baseball. I don't know. Is Detroit in the Midwest? It feels Midwest-ish.
Yeah,
I guess
they're
let me know in the
Midwestish,
comments.
even though they're an Eastern time team.
Yeah. Uh, here's so the team that I think you missed is actually the Jays.
Okay.
The Jays have the fourth best record in baseball right now. They have the benefit of being in the AL, which I do think is pretty weak uh, comparatively. They are good. They're just good. They don't have an incredible lineup, but their lineup is getting it done. They don't have on paper like immaculate pitching, but the pitching is getting it done. And just collectively as a unit, if they just keep going, like that is a World Series contender to me.
Okay.
If everything just continues to click the way it has been, and I know they added Bieber and people are going to be like that's a big ad. I'm not super sold on that at this moment in time, but if everything just continues going, to me that's like a World Series contender out of the American League because it's
Okay.
so wide open in my opinion. And I think the record like has to mean something. They're in the East. They're beating both the Yankees and the Red Sox, which wasn't super supposed to happen. They're overperforming, and maybe this is me buying too much on the hype, but I'm a big Jays believer. And then my 4 and 5 are actually the Dodgers and the Phillies. I think the Dodgers, when healthy, are going to be one of the best teams in baseball. They just aren't there yet, so I can't give them any higher, in my opinion, than where I have them. And then the Phillies, I do actually like the Phillies the way they're going a little bit better than the Dodgers collectively for this season, but the Zach Wheeler injury does scare me a little bit in the ranking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It just goes back for why I kind of believe the Phillies a little, maybe too much, probably. I see them a lot, obviously, being an Atlanta Braves fan. But no, I just feel like their rotation as a whole is still too complete, even though you miss Zach Wheeler. Like Christopher Sanchez is pitching amazingly. Ranger Suarez is a little inconsistent as of late, but he's been really good this year. Aaron Nola has not been good, but there was one flash of kind of brilliance. So I don't know. I still feel like from a roster and an offense standpoint, they're doing it better than the Toronto Blue Jays. From a pitching standpoint, I think they're just slightly deeper than a team like the Blue Jays, and you'll see where I've got the Blue Jays here in a minute.
Okay. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna roll through my top eight, and then we'll get through your top eight because I think that's where you said there's like a teardrop again. My number 6 team is the Cubs. You
Okay.
had them at 5, so we're not too different. I'm not gonna repeat all the things you said about the Cubs because I think we feel very similarly about them.
Yeah.
My team after that is actually going to be the Yankees, but that is with an asterisk because their next 12 games are brutal.
Yes.
So we're about
Eh,
to learn a lot about the New York Yankees for better or worse. And then my 8th team is the Padres. I
okay.
somehow the Padres quietly are kind of accomplishing things, and the Padres should never quietly be accomplishing things with their roster, but they're kind of like under the radar a little bit. Their record isn't crazy. They're kind of covered up by the Dodgers. There's other bigger stories happening in baseball, but I kind of like where the roster's at. I would feel okay about them in the playoffs, but there are teams better than them for sure in my opinion.
To finish off my top eight, this is where you were saying the National League is probably a little better than the American League right now, and there's kind of just like a cluster of American League teams. This is kind of where my cluster is. So like I feel like that top five is a tier above. Then we kind or really, excuse me, that top three is a tier above. Then this 4 through 8 is kind of in a same tier for me. And this
Okay.
is where a lot of my American League teams are going to fall, where you feel like this American League is wide open. So at 6, I have the New York Yankees.
Okay.
Offensively, they're not good right now. They're about to go on a 12-game stretch that are going to tell a lot about this team. But when you look at the other teams in the American League East, I trust their pitching depth Or maybe, again, I'm just an Atlanta Braves fan that they have Max Fried, and Max Fried's amazing. Maybe that's some of it. But I trust what the Yankees have in their rotation more than I do some of the other teams in this American League East. But you'll see my number 7 team, the Toronto Blue Jays. The Toronto Blue Jays again, and hey, I mean, I work with the same people that coach Jose Barrios. So Jose's going to do what Jose's going to do. I just don't trust the rest of that rotation outside of Jose Barrios. Chris Bassett, inconsistent this year. They've got some other guys in that rotation that are kind of iffy, whatever. Offensively, they're doing really well right now. But again, you look at that run differential, it's only a plus 55. So they're winning games, but they're not winning games by much. Typically, that's good signs for a bullpen ERA, which their bullpen's been pretty good. I mean, I have their closer, Jeff Hoffman, on fantasy. He's blown a save recently, but overall, he's been getting me a lot of fantasy points. So I'm seeing they're closing out games, so he's doing it. But it's hard to trust that when you're calling on your closer that much, that he's going to be able to continue to perform in that clutch over and over and over again. And so I feel like because of the starting rotation depth, I've got the Yankees slightly above. But again, this 4 through 8, same tier. Mm-hmm. Then you get to the Boston Red Sox at 8. They're on fire right now. But again, I just don't trust. I trust this offense maybe a little more than the Blue Jays. Surprisingly, even though on paper the Blue Jays are probably better offensively, but their pitching still scares me. It's the same conversation we had when the Rafi Devers trade happened. They got pitching back, but like, what do you really have in that rotation? That still scares me. But the way they're winning baseball games when we don't really expect them to, and they are in contention, just 2 or 3 games behind taking the division lead in the AL East, you got to respect that. And you got to kind of put them in the same tier because I think they kind of are clustered together.
Yeah. I'll carry on that because I have the Red Sox at 9. I think that's about right for them. I think the Red Sox are for sure a top 10 team in baseball. I say for sure. They are a top 10 team in baseball, at least in my opinion. There are teams that are close to them, sure, but it is just the pitching, right? If we're going into a playoff series, it's Crochet, and then you have Brian Bayo, obviously, and there's other guys there, but it doesn't inspire to me like a ton of confidence. Their pitching just doesn't. I think that's the whole. I think if we look at the lineup, I can get myself to believe in their lineup collectively more than I can their rotation.
Well, and I'll even throw my 9th team on here because you've mentioned them and I haven't. I got the San Diego Padres 9th, and I think what you just said about the Red Sox is the exact vice versa of how I feel about the Padres. But obviously in the same vein, they are a pitching team. Pitching is what has them in this area right now, even despite Dylan Cease kind of having a little bit of a down year. I just wrote down here, pitching's keeping this team in contention right now with reach of the Dodgers. Right at the time of recording, I think they're 2 games behind the Dodgers. They did have the division lead at one point. The Dodgers caught them back. But what scares me is what I've seen from the 2024 Atlanta Braves. Pitching, amazing. Pitching wins you games in the playoffs, but pitching only wins you games in the playoffs if they score nothing and you score 1 when you're 21st in runs and 29th in homers hit, and you're in San Diego, where the ball can fly around a little bit there. So I think the inability to score runs, even though on paper they should be able to. You have Fernando Tatis, you have Ryan O'Hearn, you have like Jackson Merrill and all these other guys that are great on paper players and superstar players in their own right, but they're just not getting it done offensively. And I think heading into the postseason, pitching wins in the playoffs, but I think that offense scares me a little too much, and that's why they're coming in at 9th. But with them being in reach of the Dodgers, again, you still got to respect it. It's just, I don't think they score runs in the playoffs, especially with who they're probably going to have to face when it comes playoff time.
Yeah. I'm going to round out my top 10 here, and then we'll figure out how we want to do the rest of this. My 10th team is the Houston Astros.
So is mine.
Okay, so we're in perfect agreement. Here's the thing that is a little scary about Houston if I'm in the Houston camp, and I hate driving the Houston bus as a Ranger fan, but here we go, beep beep. Their lineup is okay. Their pitching is okay. They are overachieving a little bit. I think that most Houston fans would agree with me. They are thrilled to be winning the division because the Mariners and the Rangers have both underachieved a little bit. At the beginning of the year, we talked about this is going to be a three-team dogfight, and it may still develop at the very end to be that. They are probably thrilled right now to be leading the division by as much as they are. Here's the part that concerns me. They're not clicking well lately. And this is
Yeah.
a very much what have you done for me lately? They're 10 and 10 in their last 20 games. They're 15 and 15 in their last 30. They're playing 500 baseball. And then once you kind of get to the postseason, 500 baseball is not gonna win you a World Series
Yeah.
probably. Now it's
They,
real nitpicky on like, could they be the ninth best team? Sure, but again, like as the further down we go, the closer they get. I have to put them
yeah.
somewhere. To me, they're the 10th best team, but you could make the argument, as high as say 8, as low as
Yeah.
12. I'll do my 11th team just quickly here, and then I think at the further down we go, we can just take chunks out of it. My 11th best team here is the Mets. I don't
Absolutely.
know.
Mine too.
Okay, so we're pretty in alignment here. I got a couple of Mets stats to tell you because the bats have been unreal. They have been
Y-
unbelievable. They set a franchise record in runs scored in a single month in August. They scored 177 runs. They also hit 53 home runs in August, which is a franchise record. They hit 285 as a team. They had an 866 OPS as a team. And you're like, damn, that team must have been so good in the month of August. They went 11 and 17 because the pitching was so bad. And that's a
Yep.
legitimate concern of mine, right? If you're in the Mets camp, it, the bats are there, obviously. Like everybody's complaining about Juan Soto, who's like having one of the best seasons of his career, and everyone's like, why would you pay him that amount of money? Like the bats are kind of performing. There was a stretch where they weren't, but man, the pitching is worrying to me.
Yeah, that pitching really is worrying, and it's crazy to see them have such an offensive powerhouse type month for them to be 11 and 17. But I will tell you, I was loving every single Frank the Tank Twitter video. I was relishing it. I love how they can't beat the Braves. Like I'm loving it.
But right now, they really can't beat anybody. If that
Yeah.
makes you feel any better. But go Mets, got the Mets shirt on, represent. Let's do 12 and 13 because I'm interested to hear what you've got there. Why don't you go first?
Okay, well, this may or may not be a shocker to you, but I have the Texas Rangers at 12 and the Seattle Mariners at 13.
Okay.
I mean, I think you gotta give the Rangers some props. They're 9-1 in their last 10. I think they are chasing down the Mariners. I mean, the offense has been really hot and cold. If you're a Texas Rangers fan, obviously I know you are, Josh.
Hmm.
They're on or they're not. And when they're on, the offense is on fire. They're hitting really well right now. The pitching is the best in baseball statistically, so that's what's kind of kept you in the dance until this offense got hot. If they catch Seattle and get in the dance, I still think this is probably a dark horse team that could make a run like you did in 23 or like my Braves did in 21. Like this has the makings of if you get in the dance, you might be the most dangerous team in the American League because of how good this pitching is and because of how explosive this offense can be. Now with the Mariners, Cal Raleigh might be on pace to break Mickey Mantle's switch hitting home run record at 54. He's 4 away from tying, 5 from breaking. He's 0-17, or at least last time I looked, he's 0-17 in his last 17 at bats, so that's not great. Uh, but the pitching is a little inconsistent right now. Logan Gilbert is getting shelled anytime he starts right now, which is not good. The offense is on a really bad cold streak. And so they're finding ways to win games and stay in the competition, but they're also not winning a ton of games to make you confident. And the thing I hate for Seattle Mariners fans is like, this kind of is your history of a franchise. So I really hope it doesn't continue to repeat itself, but it feels like it's starting to repeat itself, even with a year with Cal Raleigh being so amazing.
Yeah, I have those two teams in those spots as well, but they're inverted. And I'll tell you why. There's a couple of reasons. One, and this might be like reverse bias because I do watch the Rangers probably 150 games a year. and I'm on pace to do that again, which is torturous. But I don't fully believe in the lineup right now just because of all the injuries. Like Semien has not been good by any stretch, and now he's out with a broken foot for a while. And the guys that have come in have actually been quite like astoundingly good. And I do not trust that is going to continue. Seager is
Yeah.
out. He had a appendix thing, so he's out probably the rest of the regular season. The shortstops have come in and been pretty good, and I just don't trust that that's going to continue. Uh, Eovaldi's out. That's a big hit. Adolis, it looks like, is going to be out for some amount of time. I just don't fully trust in the lineup, which has been the story of the entire season, to continue doing what they are doing because the pitching has taken a step back in the last month or two, but the lineup has stepped up. I just don't think with all of those guys out, it's going to continue. Although maybe you could make the argument, hey, if Semien's out, it lets some of the other guys come in that aren't just destined to be mediocre the rest of this season, which maybe is mean to Semien, but that kind of feels like the direction it was headed before the broken foot. So I have them below Seattle for one other reason. Seattle is passable against teams above 500. We're going back to this well again. They're 42 and 39 against teams above 500. The Rangers are 15 games below 500 against teams that are above 500. So it's like the Rangers are hot. They are on one. I get that. I just don't trust it. I think the Mariners' season collectively has been better. And I think the Mariners lineup I like a little bit better than Texas, even with the potentially weaker pitching. But we'll see. I hope I'm wrong, obviously, as a Rangers fan, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how we go. I'm going to move on here to, we'll just finish out the top half, 14 and 15. I got the Royals and the Reds for a
Okay.
lot of the same reasons. The Royals first are still quietly in there. They're pretty good against teams above 500. They're kind of clicking away. We kind of wrote them off at some point post deadline. It just went bad for a week or two, I think, and we were like, the season's over. And now they're still here, right? They would kind of be the story if Texas hadn't gone 9-1 in their last 10, and everyone was like, "Holy cow, maybe Texas is still alive." Like that could very well be the Royals storyline if that didn't happen. They're still there. They still got Bobby Witt. They still have pieces. I I don't trust that they're going to be able to jump both Texas and Seattle to get in, but stranger things have happened.
Yep.
And I feel pretty similarly about the Reds. I think the
Okay.
Reds are a little too far behind to make it a legitimate run. I do think that I like the Royals team a little better, even though Cabrian Hayes seems to be finding a little something out there. I These two are in a very similar tier to me, but I why don't you finish out your top half? Who you got?
Yeah, so we're going to differ slightly, but it's because your 15 team is my 16 team. But I've actually got the Royals in 14 for the exact same reasons you're saying. I mean, Bobby Witt's finally kind of turning it on to a new level that we thought he would get to, but now he's just finally kind of doing it. The pitching is top 5 in baseball, and the offense is currently hot, but they haven't been really doing anything all year except for Bobby Witt being passable, and now he's turning it on. So it's a good run that they're on, but with Texas being on the run that they are, they've kind of passed them up. And then I've got the San Francisco Giants at 15, and I think a lot of that is, hey, this is power rankings. So they're 8-2 in their last 10 going into September, and the Reds are 3-7 in their last 10. Even though the Reds are probably more alive for a playoff spot than what the Giants are, just because the Reds are one game better, I think you have to at least look at the run that these two teams are on and say, hey, the season's probably over for both of them, but if you're putting those two teams head to head right now, I think the Giants win the series with how they're playing baseball.
That's fair. And I actually have the Giants at 16 because we're just so in alignment on all of this, I guess. It seems like the Giants' offense is finding it. Devers seems to have found it a little bit. I think
Yep.
they're certainly in that middle tier of baseball teams right now, where they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but it's still watchable. Like on
Yeah.
any given night, you could come out with a win, and that's not true for a lot of the teams below this. I don't know. It's like I think the future looks okay because there was a minute there where you're like, oh man, is this just not going to work? It seems like it's going to. It just took him a minute to find it, which
Yeah.
unfortunately meant that a lot of the season passed before he was able to find it. I'm still hopeful for like next year and beyond for the Giants, but I think right now, if they were to play the Reds, I think it would be a really interesting like 5 game series in that hypothetical playoff matchup that isn't going to happen this year probably. I think it would be an interesting watch to see how that would go.
Absolutely.
Let me knock out a bunch of teams here. I'll go to 20, and then
Okay.
you can just go after that. At 17, I got the Guard Dogs. I got the Cleveland Guardians. After that, it's the Cardinals, and then after that, I've got the D-backs, and then I have the Rays. I'll start at the
Okay.
Rays because I think that's the most interesting one to me of this group. They had that month, if you remember back to May, where they were on top of the world. Like they could do no wrong. And since
Absolutely.
then, they have done all sorts of wrong. And now we're here. I don't it's like the season just hasn't gone the way that they expected, and I don't know if that's partly because of like the scheduling and just like hey, they had to play a bunch of road games because that's the way it worked out, and their stadium just was under repair. Like they had a bunch of stuff stacked against them. This was bound to happen eventually. Um, it just hasn't worked out for them. The Guardians were in it for a while. They were in it honestly for longer than I expected. They finally, it seems like, have regressed down a little bit to their run differential, and a lot of the advanced analytics would say their record is still better than it should be because the
Yeah.
run differential is so bad. So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because of the record, but like they have Jose Ramirez, so that to me counts as something. Like if you have
Yeah,
a
but he's
top
not been really good in his last 10 either.
right, but if you're taking the full roster, like him and Stephen Kwan are kind of what they have. Like Nolan Jones
Yeah.
is there obviously, but those are kind of the two big dogs, and so I think that if the Guardians played any of the teams below them in like a 3 or 5 game set, I would feel good about the Guardians winning that, which is why I have them where they are currently. But I do think that it would be interesting to watch that transpire.
Okay. Well, I'll run through my 17 through 20, and it's all four of the same teams, just in different orders. So I've got the Rays at 17,
Okay.
D backs at 18, Guards at 19, Cardinals at 20.
Okay.
And so the reason why I've got the Guardians a lot lower than you is exactly what you said. I feel like they are regressing to their differential, but doing it at an alarming quick rate. Like you said, they stayed in it a lot longer than they probably should have. I've got the Rays a lot higher because, again, they're falling kind of down to the middle of the road of all the stats, like the team hitting stats, the team pitching stats. But they do have some more home games towards the end of the year, and they're probably going to hate losing, or they're probably going to hate leaving George S. Steinbrenner, George H. Steinbrenner, whatever it's called, field, because they've played overall well there. I think they said they need to go. I read something today that they need to go 6-7 in their final 13 or 14, however many, 13 games there to be at 500. So that's showing that you're playing at least a sub or a little over 500 baseball there, and they've got some games at home to end the year. The Diamondbacks I've got where they are because Corbin Carroll has had like an underrated, really, really good season, but the rest of this team's not been good. Zach Gallen's not been good. And the Cardinals, I think it's just time for the youth movement. They're not playing really good baseball right now. Injuries have kind of occurred, and they're just kind of feels like the 20th best team in baseball. Like let the youth movement begin, and that ownership has not been the good ownership of maybe 10, 15 years ago. So is time to start questioning Cardinals ownership?
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation out there. I will say the D-backs were supposed to be significantly better. than they were. The
Yeah.
D-backs to me are one of the disappointments. Them and Atlanta, obviously, which we'll get to in a minute, I'm sure, and Baltimore. Those are like the three teams I look at and circle and just say, like, there are teams obviously that are a little bit better or a little bit worse than we expect every year, but I think those three teams specifically have super underperformed because you remember they signed Corbin Burns this offseason and we were like,
Yeah.
hey, they're making moves. Like they're trying to accelerate getting back to a World Series because we're only a couple years removed from that.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out. The pitching just has super underperformed, and there's been injuries in that. And people were terrible for the first while. So I don't know. It's a tough. I don't really know the direction the D-backs go from there. I still think the team is good. Like you still have pieces there. Perdomo is good. Marte obviously is good. Carroll is going to be good for a long time. Like you have pieces that are going to be good there. I just don't know the direction they go after this has gone not so great for them.
Yeah, and it's tough because they are in the NL West until expansion happens, and even then, they'll probably still be in the NL West. It's like it's tough when you're competing against all those other teams in the National League West, and then you have Corbin Burns go down fairly early, and guys just not live up to the expectations, minus the one or two pieces that like a Perdomo and Corbin Carroll, that actually did take the next step.
Yeah. I'm gonna knock out just the next chunk of teams I've got. Just to do it. I got the Marlins next. I think that they are at least okay. They are actually like the 21st record in the major leagues record wise, so I have them at 21. They have not been the historically bad Marlins that they have been in the past. It feels like things are getting better out there. I will be the first to tell you I don't watch a ton of Marlins baseball, but just looking at box scores and stuff over the course of the year, because I do keep up with all these things, it feels like things have gone in a positive direction this year, and it feels like it's trending in the right way. So that's good. Good for you guys, Marlins fans. The next team I got is the O's, and I have them only slightly above the Atlanta Braves, who Justin will talk about at length, I'm sure, here in a second. The O's have underperformed. They're one of the most disappointing teams. Again, the core is still really good for them. They have good young pieces. They still have Gunnar. Adley suddenly is a question, and that wasn't a question even 3 weeks ago. Where is he going to wind up? But, they still have Jackson Holiday. Like, they have pieces. It's going to be fine in Baltimore. I'm quite confident. Just didn't work out this year. Atlanta, underperforming. Justin will talk about it. I got the A's and then the Angels, and that's my next five. I think the A's are just slightly better than the Angels right now, even though, as we record this, the record says otherwise. Um, I just like what the A's have got going a little bit better. I like that Kurtz is there. I like that Wilson is still raking. Langoliers is finding it. Rooker is there. Like the lineup is pretty good. At least they have the start of a good lineup for a team in this tier. I guess for a team in this tier, their lineup is really good. But they have the start of a lineup that could bump them up into like the 13 to 18 range next year, and I don't think any of us would be shocked if the pitching comes around a little bit.
Yeah, so I'll rattle off mine through 25, and I'm going to second everything you just said about my number 21 team, the Athletics. I've got the Athletics at 21. Massive improvements offensively made this team like a true offensive powerhouse. If you look at what they've got going on, they've got a top 10 offense in Major League Baseball. It's just their issue is they don't have any pitcher to save their life. And so they keep getting better. They keep getting younger. They have a really good young core. If they continue this trajectory and actually maybe spend some money on some pitching, I know they won't do it, but if they do, this could be a really fun sleeper team for 26 or 2027. Like this offense is really, really good, and they're going to continue to develop into something really, really good. I really love what the A's have going on. And yeah, their record may not be what some of these other teams are, but I think just on paper right now, they're a better baseball team than the ones in this list. Then 22, the Marlins. Everything you said. Pitching has been kind of iffy for them this year. Sandy Alcantara coming back from Tommy John surgery or the internal brace, whichever one it was. Took a second to get going, but they didn't trade him. He actually ended up starting to perform more like the Sandy Alcantara that we've kind of seen. It still hasn't been the Cy Young Sandy, but it's been a lot better. I mean, you still have Cabrera there, you still have Perez that need to take that next step, but they're still quality pitchers. Stowers, Marcy, Edwards, those are guys that are proving something as a part of maybe a core that the Marlins can actually build around. And then you got the Angels at 23. Offense is pretty good. Like they can hit homers. They're built off of the Atlanta Braves formula. Slug. They're going to hit homers. They're going to score some runs homers wise, but they're also going to strike out a ton. They walk the most. They walk the most guys in baseball. They've given up the fourth most runs allowed. 28 blown saves, which is by far the most in baseball. And they're third in most home runs allowed. So pitching is an issue for the Los Angeles Angels. If they just had a league average pitching, they would probably be in the American League playoff hunt. And then I'll skip 24 and go to 25. That's where I've got the Baltimore Orioles. The lack of replacing Corbin Burns and spending money really hurt this team. Star players took steps back. They were very inconsistent. The pitching was not good, especially when Charlie Morton was there. They still have a solid core. I mean, they still have now two catchers, like we talked about last podcast episode. If you want to go and take our take on Basallo and Adley Rutschman, and if Adley should be traded, they've got some stuff going on there. They've got a good core. They should be a good team, but you need to spend money correctly. And then, obviously, as Josh has already pre-filled in, my number 24 team, the Atlanta Braves. My Atlanta Braves. So where do I begin? Massive disappointment of a season, and I'm not going to be the one to sit here and say it's because of the injuries of losing your top 5 starting pitchers to the injured list, and really top 6 starting pitchers on the injured list, but the top 5 guys you started the season with, because the team was already underperforming and bad before you even got there. Whether this is an Alex Anthopoulos thing or a Terry McGurk thing, a Liberty Media thing, the team failed to address anything in the offseason. We couldn't get a better bullpen knowing Joe Jimenez was going to be out. They didn't address starting pitching at all, which obviously became even bigger of a factor once guys started getting hurt. Guys offensively took steps back. But as of late, offensively, Ozzie Albies is turning it around. Obviously, Austin Riley's out for the rest of the year. Ronald Acuna came back and is showing that he's healthy and can perform early before going into a healthy offseason. Matt Olson's kind of got back to what you expect Matt Olson to be, a 270-ish hitter, maybe a little less home runs. But it's really, really tough to see where this team is. Michael Harris, obviously, is kind of turning it on now with some mechanical changes that kind of took him back to his rookie year. And the offseason's already started for the Atlanta Braves. We've got Ha-Seong Kim, the former Padre, now Tampa Bay Ray, that's been DFA'd, and we've picked him up. He's got a $16 million player option for next year. So with Ozzie finding it, I think Ozzie stays. Ha-Seong Kim's now your shortstop. He's starting tonight, making his Braves debut. And I mean, the offseason started now in Atlanta, but things are looking maybe promising. The core looks fine. The lineup, what you'll have next year, looks fine. If the pitchers get healthy, it looks fine. But it's one thing to be fine on paper and actually play good baseball and do what you have to do or do what you're expected to do. And so is it time for a new manager? Probably. But a lot of that's going to be based on if Brian Snitker decides to retire. And the thing is, like, they got to be more consistent offensively. They sucked in runners in scoring position to start the year. They got better. But now pitching's just the thing holding this team back once they finally kind of found it because of all those injuries. And so my hope is that they're back to being what they should be next year. I like the Ha-Seong Kim addition. I think he's going to be a good shortstop. Should be better offensively, even though he's not amazing offensively. Just need a little bit better offense. But yeah, offseason started in Atlanta, and it's just disappointment of a year.
Yeah, we've talked about Atlanta at length on this podcast. Obviously, Ozzie turning it around maybe saves his tenure there, because I think if he didn't, we were looking at him being shipped away. The Kim ad is interesting. I want to go back to the Angels. Their record, their analytics at least, kind of indicate they've actually gotten lucky. They do have one of the worst bullpens in baseball, like Justin said. But analytics say they have 6 more wins than they're supposed to, for what that's worth, and that's actually the highest in the league.
Yeah.
So shout out Angels fans. Just know it could be so much worse.
Overperforming.
Yeah. Just know it could be so much worse than it is right now.
Maybe it could be the Rockies.
Could be. Could be the Rockies. All right. I think let's round this out. I mean, certainly both of our number 30 team has got to be the Rockies. If not, I'm
Yep.
finding a new co-host. Okay, perfect.
Yep. It's the Rockies.
Uh I'll fill out mine and then we surely have the same teams. It'll just depend on the order a little bit. 26 for me, I got the Twins. It just hasn't happened this year. There was a moment, remember, one of our first podcasts we recorded, we were like, this team is hot. Buxton is finding it. Everything is honky dory in Minnesota. And then it
And then they
wasn't.
traded everybody.
Yep. So that's our bad, I guess. Podcasters jinx, let us know. Sorry, Trevor Plouffe. My next team here is Pittsburgh. They just need bats. And I don't really understand what the front office is doing. They've made a lot of questionable things, but that's a podcast episode on its own for another time, probably in the off season. I then have
Once Tommy Pham
Washington.
gets DFA'd, we can talk about it.
Yeah, I then have Washington, the Nationals, of course. That is just where they are. They haven't been great this year, but they are fun to watch for what that's worth. They have fun pieces. And then I have the White Sox. That's how I round mine out. How are you looking?
I've got Pirates at 26. Again, like you said, pitching staff's actually pretty good. They just need offense. Will they spend money on their offense? Probably not. And again, we'll talk about their ownership once they DFA Tommy Pham for the same reason why they've DFA'd a couple other players recently. Then I've got the Minnesota Twins at 27. I mean, they're not a good baseball team right now. They've gotten rid of everybody essentially, other than like a Joe Ryan and Byron Buxton, and they're giving young guys a chance to play, which they need to. Royce Lewis, Brooks Lee, which I think Brooks Lee's injured right now. Again, it's just the Twins got a lot of issues right now from the ownership perspective, and it's not a good place for the Minnesota Twins. At 28, I've got the Chicago White Sox. I've got them at 28 despite having a significantly worse record than the Nationals because of the pitching. I feel like they've actually found some pitching core. You have Shane Smith. You have the other guy that like looks just like Shane Smith that I'm like merging the two together. I think they have two like building blocks pitching wise. You have Chase Mydrith. You have a couple other pieces on offense, Kyle Teal and Lenine Sosa that are starting to make their wave on the big league roster. You have Montgomery that's there too. They're actually starting to build a core that I would even like to say might be better in the long run than what the Nationals have at 29. And so then I've got the Nationals at 29. They're a very exciting team. I like James Wood. I like CJ Abrams. Dylan Cruz still hasn't found it. Outside of Mackenzie Gore and Brad Lord, they really don't have any pitching. And even then, Mackenzie Gore's had a little bit of a down season. So we'll see if like Brad Lord continues to be what he's at least shown early on in his big league career. The Nationals, I think, have farther to go from a pitching standpoint and seeing if Dylan Cruz really has it. But CJ Abrams and James Wood are a really good core for the Nationals, and we'll see what the rest of that team can be built around them. But yeah, that would be how I put it right now. I put the pitching slightly above the offensive core, and that's why I got the White Sox at 28.
Yeah, the White Sox have turned it around. Obviously, they had one of the worst seasons in baseball history last year.
Felt like they didn't have a future either, but then
Yeah,
they turned that around quickly.
they've kind of turned it around. Like there's a young core out there that's okay. They've gotten slightly unlucky this year. Analytics says they should have 9 more wins than they currently have. They should be looking at a 60-win record right now. Instead, as we're recording this, they're 50-88. They're one of the most unlucky teams. They are the most unlucky team in baseball, right in front of the Texas Rangers, according to analytics. Like, I think it's going in the right direction for Chicago because it would be hard to go in a worse direction than last year went. I
Yep.
think if we had taken the Rockies and the White Sox and flipped it this year, and they had coupled, you know, 2024 White Sox with 2025 Rockies, but they were both the White Sox, we'd be like, man, stuff is
Hey,
happening.
this
But
team's not getting any better. Yeah,
yeah, I think we're okay on them. Washington is just kind of fun, like you said. James Wood, Abrams is there. Like we can just name drop all day, so I'm not going to. But it's a fun team to watch. At least in Washington, is like the consolation for being this low. Like they're bad, but you have James Wood. And he's, is he the next Juan Soto? I don't know that I would go that far. Time will tell. Early signs are positive, at least. And you can dream on Cruz eventually figuring it out. The Pirates, I think it's always just going to be the front office. What are they doing? What is ownership doing? That's just going to be the story of the Pirates until they sell the team, probably. Which, get a hashtag sell the team in the comments if you've made it to
yeah,
this point in the video. Feels like a pretty good list that we've compiled here. We didn't differ too much once we started to go down. I think our top 8 was a little different, but that's all right. That's why we make these videos for
absolutely.
for people to discuss in the comments below. So let us know. Did we nail it? Did we not? Did we hit a home run on your team? Did we have them rank exactly where you would? Or not? I guess let us know either way. Let me ask you this. I got one question and then we'll wrap up. The next couple of weeks, we're not going to do this again in a couple of weeks, but if we were, and you were going to project forward, who do you believe would be the biggest mover in the next couple of weeks in your power rankings, either up or down?
Uh, Up or down? Oh, okay. I would probably say the biggest mover up or down is probably, I'd say I'll give two. Biggest down will be the New York Yankees.
Okay.
If that 12 game run does not go well, if the pitching that has been keeping them up there like just drops off and doesn't perform in this 12 game stretch, I feel like they could drop significantly for a team that should be in the postseason. They could probably end up around that 13, 14 range. And then I'll be an optimistic Atlanta Braves fan. I think this lineup, what they are going to be putting out every day to the end of the year with Hassan Kim in the lineup, I feel like it's actually a better lineup on paper. And so if the Braves can start rattling off wins, I don't think we get to 500 anymore because now you only can lose 4 more games in the last 24, 25 games to not be at 500 or below 500 for the entire season. So I still don't think we get to 500, but I do think they can rattle off some wins and move up maybe to like your 2017, 16 spot, maybe,
Okay.
if they go on a run and play some really, really good baseball towards the end where you got to actually rate how you play baseball currently.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Yankees for a minute. We keep saying, oh, they have such a brutal next 12 games. Let's just say what the 12 games are. They're in Houston for 3 here. And then they turn around and they have Toronto, who leads their division for 3. And then they have Detroit, who's one of the best teams in baseball for 3. And you're like, thank God that's over. That was a nightmare. Well, then you got to turn around and you got to go into Boston for 3.
Yep.
So that stretch of 12 games potentially makes or breaks the season for me. Like if they tread water there, I think you're feeling okay about it because the teams after that is like Minnesota and you got Baltimore and then you got the White Sox and then Baltimore again. Like it gets better after that. But this next 12 games for the Yankees to me will tell how how this is going to actually look in postseason time should we get there. Because
Yeah.
if this goes badly, like I think is in the back of a lot of Yankees fans' minds, I'm not rooting for this, but I do think it's in the back of a lot of Yankees fans' minds of like, man, like we would love like if you offered 6-6 out of these 12 games, you would take it in a heartbeat, but it
Yeah.
could so easily go 3-9. It could so easily go 2-10. Like if you
Yeah.
just start rolling badly. But on the flip side of that, like if they find something and they reel off like an 8-4 or a 9-3, they're a top 5 team in baseball probably the way that we're looking at it. So I think there's a lot to learn from the Yankees here in the next.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Seattle's stretch here too could either help or hurt them too. Let's just say the Yankees do go below 500 in that 12-game stretch. I know Seattle's got to play Atlanta, and if I'm saying my Atlanta Braves are rising up the power rankings, maybe they help out the Yankees even with a bad little run there. And if the Rangers fall off like you think they should, maybe the Yankees still end up with a spot even playing sub 500 baseball the rest of the way.
Yeah, the Mariners have the benefit of their schedule isn't crazy down the stretch. And this is
Yeah,
kind of the time, this is the first time when we come to September that I really truly look at like, okay, what is the strength of schedule left? Because now we kind of know what every team is. We don't necessarily know that in May, but we know it now in September. They have Tampa, and then they roll into Atlanta, like you said. They have St. Louis. They have the Angels. After that, it's the Royals. Like, these are not powerhouse teams that they're about to play.
they're
So
not.
there's a real shot that they reel off a bunch of wins in a row, and they're very comfortably in the wild card. Maybe even they jump the Astros for the division, depending on how
Yeah.
their next stint of games goes. But
It
we'll
just it
see.
just kind of scares me though, because you talk about, well, again, I'll say my Atlanta Braves again. If this lineup that looks now deeper because the offseason's already started, if they, I mean, they've kind of been hot as of late, and pitching's kind of let them down. And so, if pitchers start kind of doing some things and that offense is rolling like it kind of is, the Angels can rattle off some homers like we talked about. They just strike out. They just strike out a ton, and their pitching's terrible. I don't know if you start rattling off some wins because like the Seattle pitching that we think is very very good but has not performed good as of late. I don't know. You could have a couple upset series there, and then you said Baltimore too. I mean, they've still got a young core. They can rattle off some things. They're 3-7 in their last 10 right now, but again, they're looking at trying to go into the offseason with any type of momentum, and they could rattle off some wins too.
Let's talk about
Got a
Houston
lot of
first.
upset territory.
Let's talk about Houston for a second. They're my pick to potentially fall. Talked about the Yankees schedule coming up. The Astros schedule, depending on how you cut it and how you look at teams, is kind of gnarly. They have the Yankees. The Yankees and Houston are playing each other. They have the benefit of hosting that. They go into Texas, who, if they stay hot through their series that they have currently in Arizona, that always gets dicey as like a rivalry. Then they turn around, they have to go to Toronto and play one of the best teams in baseball. Then you play the Braves, who it sounds like you're pretty high on. They potentially are doing things. And then they turn around and they have to play Texas again. Then they play Seattle. So it's not exactly a cakewalk for Houston down the road. I think that I think Houston is good enough that they will tread water. I feel better about Houston in that stretch than I do about the Yankees in their stretch, but there is potential that the wheels fall off of this thing if an injury pops up. Say Pena has to miss more time, or Jordan, it either doesn't click like they're hoping, or he's re-injured. Like, they are not that far away from this going kind of south. I'm kind of optimistic. The team that I think could find it is the Cubs. I think the Cubs, if it clicks again like it did for the first while of the season, I think we very easily are looking at, hey, this is maybe the second or third best team in baseball. I know I have them at 6, so that's not like a massive jump, but I do think it's there enough for me to believe that I would feel better about them than the Phillies, or that I would feel better about them than the Dodgers if the Dodgers don't get healthy. Um, so I don't know. Those are the two teams that I would circle, I guess, is Houston and Chicago, the Cubs, to potentially lower or jump. But I guess we'll see. That's why they play the games. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, Justin's going to give you a player to comment, like he does every
Yeah,
week.
everybody's favorite number one player in baseball, William Contreras.
All right. Comment William Contreras if you made it to the end of the episode. Thank you guys for watching, and let us know what we missed. And we'll catch you all in the next one.
Hashtag sell the team.